So, you are about to build a house, but you are confused about the type of foundations available and what you should use. You hear terms like pier and beam, and then you hear slab foundations, sometimes monolithic slabs. You can even be talking about a slab foundation and also have piers. This is enough to confuse anybody, right? So, the main differences between the two most common types of foundations are a slab foundation and a pier and beam foundation. I'm going to start with a slab foundation. It's what we do here in Texas. It is the most common type of foundation. I will sometimes call it a monolithic slab, meaning it is all poured at one time and all that concrete is connected. So, what happens with the slab foundation is we go out and we excavate a building pad to be perfectly level because the foundation needs to be perfectly level. The concrete guys will then set form boards. They will dig these trenches through the foundation that we call beams that may go down 24 to 36 inches. They may be 10 to 24 inches wide. And then a bunch of steel, rebar. If it's a post-tension foundation, that just means it has cables through it that gets tension put on them. All of that is in the foundation, and then the concrete gets poured into it. So it is one big slab. It's why it's called slab on grade. It is all done at one grade. That is the most common type of foundation. So the next type of foundation that is less common here, it used to be done back in the day a lot, and it is still common as you go further up north, is called a pier and beam foundation. So, with a pier and beam, it is not a continuous slab or a monolithic slab. You might know what piers are from hearing the term related to bridges and things like this, but it's the same concept. Big pier holes are drilled, concrete is poured into those holes, and then they hit at a certain elevation above the ground depending on the slope of the lot. So the unique thing about a pier and beam foundation is that the lot does not need to be prepared to be perfectly flat the way it does with a slab on grade foundation or a slab foundation. These foundations, the piers can come up out of the ground at different levels. So let's say we've got a little bit of a slope. The piers, and it slopes from the back of the lot to the front. The piers poured that stick out of the ground at the back of the house may only be coming up a few inches above the ground, but because the lot is sloping down, as it gets to the front of the house, the piers come up much higher above the ground because the concept is you then lay a beam across those piers that is level. So with a pier and beam foundation, piers are poured all throughout where the house will go, and then framers actually come in and set beams, wood beams, on top of all these piers. So, one of the unique things about a pier and beam house is the first floor is never concrete. It is wood, or what we call a subfloor, because you are building up on top of these concrete piers that are sticking out of the ground. So, that's a little bit unique compared to a concrete foundation house like we would do here in Texas. If somebody wanted with one of our foundation houses, they could do a stained concrete floor or a stained and stamped concrete floor and not put any kind of floor covering down. You cannot do that with a pier and beam. I suppose you could go back over with some type of overlay over the subfloor, but the bottom line is you have to build up on top of these piers with wood beams and then wood subfloors, which is just the term for putting down plywood that you will eventually put your floor covering over. So that's the difference between a foundation and a pier and beam house. I hope that makes sense for you.